LA Knight, hello. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. How you doing, Stephanie?
I'm very good, thank you. Well, you have just qualified for the Money in the Bank ladder match, so congratulations. It's your first one, and it's of course an iconic match. So, like, how does it feel to be able to tick that off as something you've done in WWE?
Well, I rolled in here about 2 years ago or so, and I had a lot of goals in mind. I had a lot of things that I wanted to do, and there's some goals that have popped up that I haven't even. I guess when I came in, I didn't even consider it first, or that I didn't even know were possibilities. You're talking about the $1 million championship, and how'd that happen? I was on top of a ladder. So now we roll into O2, another ladder match, throwing a few other people, but bigger stakes in a lot of ways. So with all those goals in mind, and just thinking back to that, it's like I've got a lot to do still. I've got a lot to prove, both to myself and the world. And so O2 is a good chance and a good time to make that happen.
We've got Ricochet and Nakamura and Santos and Butch and Damian Priest in there. What do you think about the mix of guys and styles that we have, and how you can all gel together to make this a really memorable match?
Well, I mean, I think you got a bunch of different styles in there, but if I'm honest, you got one guy that stands out, and you're looking at him. So the fact is, I mean, all those guys are great. They bring their own sauce to the game, but again, there's only one that really matters at this point. I got to come out with that contract.
Well, the show is in London, and it's, from what I could see, it's been like a while since you wrestled in the UK, maybe like 20.
5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you wrestled in 2018, it was with another company that were very hot in the UK that the UK fans really loved. So what are your expectations for a big WWE event in the UK, and how the crowd will react?
Man, again, scarcity kind of breeds this fever, this fervor, this excitement. And so the fact that we don't come over there very often, I know that people are going to be ruckus over there. At the same time, man, everywhere I've been going, I've been hearing the people going, LA Knight, LA Knight. And look, I didn't ask for them to do that. I didn't beg for them to do that. I ain't been shoved down anybody's throat. And so the fact that that's been happening has been a testament to what I've been doing. But you look at going to the UK, and I think you're going to see more of the same, maybe even a little bit bigger.
Well, with these fans really getting behind you recently, was there a point that you noticed that the kind of tide was turning with them, where you thought wow, they really like me?
I could tell you exactly when. We were in Washington, D.C. It was the beginning of March. And Sheamus and Drew were standing in the ring arguing. And all of a sudden you hear that music, LA Knight, and the place went nuts. And I remember just hearing that, and I'm like, that's unusual. And I figured, maybe it's just because I'm originally from Maryland, which is right up the way from DC. So maybe they all know that I'm from close by here. And maybe that's why. But then we went to Pittsburgh the next week, and it was the same. Then we went to New York, and it was the same. And then we went to LA, and it was the same. So it's just grown and grown since then. Hit a fever pitch at WrestleMania. Well, not at WrestleMania, SmackDown WrestleMania in LA, and it's kind of continued since then. So I don't know. It's nothing I was looking for. It's nothing that I expected, but at the same time, I can't say I'm surprised.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was kind of a viral moment when your name was chanted at the Saudi Arabia press conference, and what was that like for you watching that and Triple H standing there?
Pretty wild, because I had no idea it was happening. I wasn't even there. I was in the hotel room at the time. I wasn't even there. I was sitting in my hotel room. Somebody had messaged me on Instagram, I think, with the clip. And then I was like, oh, wow. Okay. That's interesting. Because I had heard a bunch of people, I figured it was just conjecture. They're just saying, well, you're really over in Saudi Arabia. And I said, yeah, I'm sure I am. Sure. Yeah, fine. And, people tell me that while I'm sitting eating breakfast or whatever. And then all of a sudden I see that and I go, oh, you ain't lying. Okay. I see what's happening. So, Yeah, it was pretty wild to see, but again, just more confirmation that what I'm doing is resonating all around the world.
Mhm. When that happened, did you feel like I should be wrestling on the show, or did you were showing the crowd, and did you think, okay, well, they want me so much, maybe this will make them want me even more?
The only thing I was thinking was just everything that I've done is starting to pay off.
Yeah.
And whether that means I'm wrestling tonight, tomorrow, the next night, the only thing that matters is when I go out there, I'm gonna kill it. They're gonna see it, and either they're gonna boo the hell out of me or they're gonna cheer the hell out of me. The bottom line is wherever zero is, I'm gonna get them as far away from zero as possible.
Hmm. Well, you said there everything you've done, and this is a career that is around 2 decades, like 20 years you've been in the
Shh,
business.
don't tell everybody. Yeah.
Okay, it's been a few years that you've been in the business.
I'm a newbie. I'm a rookie at this point. I'm like 22. Come on.
But how does it feel to be getting all this now, and how does it make you kind of reflect on your journey getting to this point?
Well, I mean, look, I look back on the journey very fondly in a lot of ways. At the same time, I look back at it with a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, because I should have been here a long time ago. I should have been doing this and having this interview and having this match and all this stuff a long, long time ago. Although at the same time, I appreciate what I've done and the way I've had to go, and the fact that I've just gotten to live the life that I've gotten to live, particularly over the last 10 years. But I mean, even when I was broke and struggling, didn't have a car, getting eviction notices and all that stuff, mostly in my 20s, somehow right around the time I turned 30, everything just kind of took an upswing. And it was like, oh, okay, things are starting to incrementally get better here. But living in LA for the time that I did, just an amazing time. And I mean, just from a social aspect, and also just that was a time when I got to see the world through wrestling, through different companies. I've been to India for the first time, Australia for the first time, Canada, Mexico, Japan, all these different places, and just living a very LA life for a good long time while I was out there. So it's very mixed feelings, because I'm there's a lot of me that's just a frustrated, angry guy that this has not happened much sooner. But at the same time, that peaceful side of me is just like, hey, but come on, it's been a good run. It's been a good journey, and there's still so much more to come.
Mhm. So part of your beginning of your journey in WWE, you were in NXT, and you kind of transitioned from the black and gold NXT to the 2.0. And so what was that like, and what did you kind of gain from the experience there as someone that had so much experience elsewhere coming in NXT?
Well, I mean, a lot of it was me kind of repolishing things, because you had a whole year off from the pandemic.
Mhm.
Because I mean, it was only WWE and maybe a couple other places that were running at the time. So anywhere that I was during 2020 was not running. And so it was, there were a couple matches toward the end of 2020 that I'd had on some smaller shows, but a lot of it was just, wow, all right, let's get back in the swing of things. And so NXT was great because it was a mixture of different styles, because you had so much more of that, I guess what people call like independent, or like, I don't know, work rate style or whatever. I don't know. So there was a lot of that mixed in. Um, and then I come in like a sore thumb. Um, Very much different, I feel, from a lot of the guys in the black and gold NXT. And then now you transition to the 2.0, and the whole look of the thing is different, but at the same time, it's like it was still a seamless transition. And you got guys who are younger, super hungry, super athletic, but definitely still need their polishing and still need to figure that kind of stuff out, but they're doing an awesome job at it. And here I am, kind of at that point, leading the charge in a lot of ways. So that time was invaluable. I know at the time it was said by myself and even some of the people who brought me in, like, you're more of a main roster guy than you are an NXT guy as far as just presentation. But this is just the process, what we're doing, da da da. And I was cool with it because we made the most of it. Hell, $1 Million champion, again, never even thought that was a possibility, especially not in NXT. And there we were. So I mean, it was stuff that I wouldn't have traded at all.
Mm-hmm. So back in January, we saw you with Bray Wyatt, and he had just come back. So there was a lot of attention on that, and you had your Mountain Dew Pitch Black match. What was it like, kind of when it was pitched to you that the match would have that like gimmick on it, and how is it putting it together, and how did you feel it came off?
Well, I'll tell you this. I didn't know what to expect. I don't think anybody did, other than whoever was creating the whole thing, because we didn't really know what to expect or what was happening coming in until the day we got to San Antonio. So a lot of that was kind of just, this is what I prepared for my whole career, though, because I mean, everything in wrestling is you get to the building. Okay, it's 3 hours before showtime. What am I doing? Who is it? Okay, cool. That's just the name of the game. And that's what I've been doing now for, damn near 20 years. So in that regard, it was a unique situation. Definitely the presentation and the look of it was different. But at the end of the day, it's still me just coming in, doing my thing like I always do, one way or the other. And it was something that visually I think was amazing. I wish it would have had a little more time to breathe. But otherwise it was cool. And let me just be honest, Mountain Dew took care of us pretty well. So that was nice.
Nice, very nice.
By that, I mean they gave us a lifetime supply of Mountain Dew. I mean, don't.
Oh, wow. Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
I wanted to ask you finally about being such a great promo, and for you, how much do you think of that is like learned and honing and training, and like how much would you put on just having that naturally? Like, were you cutting promos on your teachers as a kid, or how did it really start?
Yeah, some of that started in high school. I used to, so I would get in like light trouble. I was not a trouble kid. I was not like anything, but I would end up in school suspension or Saturday school or something, usually because if you were late to class 3 times or more in a semester or whatever, they would punish you with like in-school suspension or something. I have been time challenged my entire life. Worst time management ever. I'm late for everything. And so I was late for these classes, and I'd sit there and I would just start writing, because all they do is just give you busy work. They would have you like do your schoolwork during the day, and then they'd give you like this book where it was just like, just write this. They'd give you a prompt. All right, write this 2-page paper about blah, blah, blah. And so I would write these fictitious scenarios where it's just me kind of cutting promos on, the principal or vice principal or whatever. And the vice principal, like, I remember she walked by me one time. She was like, "So what you wrote?" And I would just kind of like look at her, and I don't know, nothing ever came of it, but it was just kind of like, because again, I wasn't getting into fights and causing trouble and anything. I was just late to class, and I was just like I guess a talkative kid to some degree. But anyway, yeah. I mean, it was through that, and then, in like high school, then you start emulating the guys I saw, Austin, Rock, Flair, Jake the Snake, any of these guys, and just like with a little video camera, you might just like record promos and stuff like that. And then once I got into the business in 2003, it was just like that was my main focus. Was like, I want to be good at this, and there wasn't a lot of training. A lot of places don't train you for it, so it was just kind of like me doing it on my own. Whether it was like, rapping a song in my car, but doing it as though I'm actually like talking to somebody or something, or looking like a psycho in my car where I just am talking to myself, or ideas might come to my head while I'm in the shower or anything like that. So I don't know. It's just the key to everything is just believing what I'm saying. And that's the weird thing, is maybe I'm a psycho, but in that moment, I'm like 100% believing everything I'm saying.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.